From Washington, D.C., welcome to the Harness Racing Alumni Show. I'm Freddie Hudson, and I'm here today with Trade Martin and Bob Marks.
The Harness Racing Alumni Show with your host, Freddie Hudson and Trade Martin.
This week's Alumni Show is brought to you by Bill Houghton, insuring Standardbreds and farms for over 40 years. Bill knows the ins and outs of equine insurance. Make sure your equine investments are protected. Call or text Bill at 954-655-5547. That's 954-655-5547. Call Bill now.
Freddie, tell us about the yearlings at the sales by Hunterton Farms.
Hunterton Farms, selling their 2021 yearlings at the Lexington Select Sale, October 5th through the 9th, and the Harrisburg Sale, November 8th through the 12th. For more information, call 859-987-3983, Hunterton Farms, or email huntertonfarm@cs.com. Joining us today is one of Roosevelt Raceway's greatest trainers, now retired, Mr. Bob Bencal. Bob, welcome on our show.
Thank you, guys.
Bob, you started out with Billy Houghton. I remember that. I was only a kid back then, and but so you've been around a while. Do you care to comment on the differences in racing between then and now?
Well, basically, everything has gotten, like everything in the world, everything has gotten better. Equipment, racetracks, and breeding of horses. And the drivers drive much different than back when I was and today. Much different. Back then they didn't think horses could go as fast as they can, and they probably didn't at that time. But today it's really just go. That's the whole thing. They just go fast. That's the name of the game right now.
Yeah, because I know, when we trained horses, we had 54-inch hobbles, 56-inch hobbles.
Yeah.
Now some of these hobbles are 66 inches. I'm like, my God, my horses would be swimming in those things.
I know. And you notice, if you look at any old pictures, I don't care what trainer it was, from Houghton to Schulte to Ralph Baldwin, heads were always high. And today, everything is between their legs most of the time.
Yeah, I think Copus brought that in when he came down from Canada. All of a sudden, all his horses, they looked like the old plow horses with their heads down. And then he's winning races, and everyone started dropping their heads down.
Yeah, buddy. In fact, I didn't use, at Westbury, I just never hooked up with Mr. Gilmore much. But one day he drove a horse for me called, you'll probably remember him, Council Hill. I had claimed him off Billy when I went on my own. Anyway, he went with a very high head. And Gilmore said to me, he won with him, but he said, take his head way down, it'll do much better. I took his head down and he run the whole mile. It's a different, just a different era, and horses are much better looking today, I think, anyway. They're bred better, and, it's better care, I guess, at the farms, and they go fast. That's the name of the game. They go very fast. And that's what, at the end of my career, which the last, I don't know how many years before I started giving it up, I couldn't adapt to the speed. I just couldn't adapt to the speed, and I didn't train fast enough. It just got me crazy. I just couldn't, I just couldn't do it. That was it. They train so hard today, and they race so hard.
Yeah, well, you trained for Jeff Gural for over 50 years.
Yeah.
And he has really been the savior of our sport. I mean,
Jeff was a great guy. Great guy.
And how was he as an owner?
Well, as you know, Fred, I wasn't like a vocal guy. I avoided what you're doing to me today. I avoided this all my life. In fact, I won Trainer of the Year, and they couldn't catch me to give me the award. I was kind of a kooky guy, I guess, if you want to say that. And I've had a lot of, not a lot of owners, Bob Boni, Susan Layden, Tony Pedone, Don Pizer. Those were my foundation. And I didn't have many, on the side beside that. But we weren't like on an owner relationship with them guys I just mentioned. We were always friends. We went out together. We hung around together at times, went to parties, but it was different. I didn't have to call them and explain stuff to them. We were sort of a one whole gang, So that's the way, I never got myself involved. Yourself, I never was interviewed. In fact, somebody said you flew under the radar. I said, yeah. I says, Hollywood Hayden, who I think is the most knowledgeable guy I know about horses and harness racing, he didn't even know I won the Jugette. I said, I'm really flying low now. But, that's how I was. I was a little kooky, I guess,
No.
And I remember you saying you stole one of my stopwatches.
Yep. I still got it.
I always said, I was sort of like, not that I was unfriendly. I don't know. That's the type of guy I was. I didn't, I said hello to people, but I didn't have many, like, hanging around, with people from our owners and a few trainers, I did, but not like, I wasn't like could say going around all the time with guys, you know what I mean? Talking.
Getting back to that stopwatch for 1 second. It was given to me by Joel Jablonski, who is Richard Jablonski's father. And on the back of it, it reads, in the big engraved print, stolen from Bob Bencal.
Is Joel still around? Would you know?
I don't know. Yeah. I haven't heard. I guess he had a falling out with the family, and so I just haven't heard anything.
That was, so I've had a good time in the business, a great time, and everything comes to an end.
Yep. Well, my other question for you is, the backstretch, we have so many illegal drugs taking place in our sport now, and so many people know about it. Why doesn't the other trainers just come up and say, well, here, this guy's using it here, and who's supplying him? The guy pulls up and sells it to him every day.
I don't, Jeff has asked me, like, I know a lot about the business inside and out, and Jeff would say to me, why don't you say something? It's just not my way of doing things. But the thing I get mad at the most is this is fact, not me just talking. A lot of trainers have, because me and Jeff are pretty close, I know a lot of stuff that he's doing, come up to him and complain about certain guys.
Right.
And then when he says, bars them or does something bad to them, the same trainers who came to him call him an idiot and not a nice guy for barring these people. So he can't win. He's always behind the 8 ball with that,
Right.
And I don't know why they come and complain. I've been there where they complain. This guy is doing this. This guy's doing that. And then when he says they're gone, they come and say, oh, the guy is the nicest guy in the world. How could you do it? He has a family and this and that. So he really is always behind the 8 ball.
Yeah.
With that stuff. I know it's hard. I just, I wasn't, a lot of these trainers or drivers, they were born into this. They were farm boys or whatever, into the horses. I was born in New York City, in the Lower East Side. My father was a detective, and I didn't know nothing about horses until my brother Ronnie somehow got hooked up with Jim Grundy. And I said, gee, I wasn't doing much, different jobs or what. And I got hooked up with, I went into it and became a groom for Houghton. And that's how it really started with me.
Right. And then, I was looking through some old programs from I'm going to go back into the 60s. And you had Jeff Gural as an owner back then. And then your wife, Monica, had sent me some pictures from California of you winning some races out in California. And I look, and there's your groom holding the horse, Jimmy Marone.
Yeah, he was my groom. And, my first owner was a guy called Don Paizo, which him and Jeff worked together. And that's how he hooked Jeff. They eventually bought a horse together, and that's how it eventually started with Jeff. A long time ago. I think, and then we went to Monticello. Jeff and his family used to stay up there this summer. He would go back and forth to work, the usual Catskill run. And somehow I conned him into letting me go to California in 71. And, in fact, I took Grundy out there and a guy called Timmy Delberto who trained for Noel Daly and for quite a while before he passed away. And when I came back the next year, and they all stayed. And then I came back and just started building the stable from there.
Right, and then you were one of Roosevelt and Yonkers' leading trainers for many years, and then Grand Circuit trainer.
Yeah, when I started fading it out, and Tony Pedone was the one that says, "Come on, I'll get you a couple of yearlings, and we'll go to Florida." And then somehow I got hooked up with Bob Boni, who's been a big supporter of me through my career. And he gave me a horse called Handsome Sun. I don't know if you remember him. He was a pretty good horse, and he broke his leg leading at the half in the jug. And that was, but Bob Boni's been big for me, and Jeff. And Tony Pedone, when he was alive, he was very good. And, just, I don't know, you got lucky or what, fortunate to have a lot of good horses. Most people don't remember them. It was a long time ago, so that's how it goes.
Right. And the last horse that you had, Genius, was retired. I know Jeff owned that horse, and I did assist with the Standardbred Retirement Foundation on that, and we basically got him. He's now a New York City cop.
Yeah, I know. He was not a great. I just liked him a lot. I like mostly all the horses. I have, like somebody says, Camptastic. Yeah, he was the best horse I ever had. But my favorite was a lot of them, and from the old days. Steady Master, Serpico, and Nicky Lou, Lady G. You go through a lot of good horses, and it's hard to pick a favorite. But Genius at work, he was just a good horse, a nice horse. And he wasn't great. He was like a 10-claimer, I would rate him. And that's why Monica pushed to get him into this police thing, and I'm glad it worked out for him.
If you're buying or selling your home, Joe Rico is your go-to guy. Joe has been representing buyers and sellers on Long Island for 30 years. He is an expert in all types of sales. Don't settle for average. Call or text Joe Rico today at 516-524-4870. That's Joe Rico at 516-524-4870.
Freddie, why don't you give everyone his email address?
That's Joe Rico, C21@yahoo.com. With that, I'm going to close our show out. Bob, I want to thank you so much for being on the show. You're a great guest.
Bobby, you were great.
Thanks a lot, guys.
You were wonderful. Say hello to Monica.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
All right, Bob.
You got it, my
Our pleasure.
Bye-bye.
That's a wrap for this week's broadcast. This is Freddie Hudson signing off, and thanks for listening, and have a great week.
The Harness Racing Alumni Show